Well, hello there. Thanks for joining me for another one of these Basics of the Bible videos. In this video, I'm going to review the 1 chapter, 13 verse book of 3 John. If this is your first time watching one of these videos in the YouTube playlist I've been working on for a couple years now, in these videos, I'll give you a one-word description for this book of 3 John. I'm going to share with you the key verse, the big idea, who the author was, who he was writing to, what date he likely wrote this in, the themes of the book, an outline, as well as some applications. So let's dig in to the book of 3 John. My one-word description for 3 John is evangelizing. Evangelizing. I think that'll make sense as we go through. The key verse, I believe, in this book is verse 8. John writes, "Therefore we ought to support such men so that we may be fellow workers with the truth." John's letter to Gaius here, if we read this book, there are 3 men mentioned: Gaius, Diotrephes, and Demetrius. So John's letter to Gaius is a reminder for us about the crucial role that every Christian plays in sharing the gospel message. If we are not the one preaching, we should be part of the group that provides for and encourages others during the preaching of the gospel. So we all play a part in sharing the gospel message, according to 3 John. The big idea of this book is that hospitality is what Christians provide to other Christians as they travel sharing the gospel. That Christians provide hospitality to other Christians as they travel sharing the gospel. The author of this book is the Apostle John. He wrote the Gospel of John, 1 John, 2 John, 3 John, and the book of Revelation. The Apostle John was the John that spent 3 years with Jesus, one of Jesus's original 12 disciples. This book is one of the last books of the New Testament to be written, probably in about 90 AD. The audience that John writes to is Gaius, who John calls his beloved. Gaius was one of 18 common names that parents in Roman culture gave to their sons. 3 themes of this book. One is evangelism, as I referenced earlier, that every Christian plays a role in evangelism. 2 is that hospitality, that we host and we provide for evangelists and Christian teachers and preachers. And then 3rd, spiritual leadership. And we have a bad example of Diotrephes. Now, an outline of this book, kind of 4 headings for this book. In this letter, Gaius is commended in verses 1 through 8. In verses 1 through 8, we have a greeting by John in verse 1, the godly life described in verses 2 through 4, and then the generosity in verses 5 through 8. And then in verses 9 through 10, Diotrephes is condemned. So Gaius is commended, but Diotrephes is condemned. His activities in verse 9, and then his ambition as well. Then we read about Demetrius, who is complimented. So Gaius is commended, Diotrephes is condemned, and then Demetrius is complimented in verses 11 through 12. In verses 11 through 12, we get a caution, a command, and then a case in verse 12 described for us. And lastly, we learn in verses 13 through 15 that John is coming to this situation. So 4 applications for us, and they start with when hour. The first application, when our children walk with God, it brings us joy. We see that in verses 1 through 4 in how John compliments and commends Gaius. When our children walk with God, it brings us joy. Second, when our missionaries are in need, we need to support them. That's from verses 5 through 8. Again, under Gaius being commended and complimented for what he did. And then when our spiritual leader tells us what to do, we do it. We learn that from verses 9 and 10, and that's the opposite of what Diotrephes did. He seemed to be doing his own thing, opposite of what a spiritual leader was saying. And the 4th application, when our deeds are shown, they should point others to our Savior. We learn about that in Demetrius, right? He did a good job pointing others to the Savior. So 3 John, it's only 13 verses. This video is shorter than others. Are there some significant details of 3 John I left out? Are there some things I should have shared in this video that you wish I would have, or that you feel other people should know about? I encourage you to leave a comment down there. Share some things you know about the letter of 3 John, maybe I didn't share, or that you think other people should know. Well, I hope and pray that God blesses you as you study his word and as you study 3 John. Thanks for watching this video. I hope to catch you in another one of these Basics of the Bible videos. God bless. See you soon.